Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined today by Ian Mallinson, IT Director at Warburton's and also board member of UK&I SUG, and Costa Petrosolini, SAP Technical Services Manager at Dunelm and also board member of UK&I SUG, plus chair of our Enterprise Architecture Special Interest Group. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Greg.
And today we're going to be discussing UK&I SUG membership and how our members can extract the most value from it, both from a personal perspective and an organisational perspective. So, just before we get into that, I have a quick question for you both. And given we're talking about advice, I thought I'd ask what the best piece of advice you've received, be it in your professional or personal life. And while you're having to think about that, it kind of threw me a little at first. And then something just came immediately to my mind, which is, I've read it in a book and then it was reiterated to me some time ago in a conversation that the quality of your communication is the response that you get. And I think it's quite important that, to look within ourselves first before reacting to that external response. So anyway, that's what came to my mind. What about you guys? Costa, do you want to go first?
Yeah, at the very beginning of my management career, I was literally just promoted manager. My boss at the time, very supportive and was coaching me as well. One of the pieces of advice he gave me was, if you cannot control it, don't worry. And I think it's easily said than done, but I learned a lot of lessons from that piece of advice, and I'm getting better. But again, I think it's very true, and is something that we all should apply for it.
That's excellent. I think is that like the circle of control that's often referred to, isn't it? Yeah, superb. And Ian?
Yeah, well, interesting to talk about circle of control. My learning is from the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, the book that Stephen Covey wrote back in the day. And I can't remember which habit it is, but one of the things he says is the importance to diagnose before you prescribe. Yeah, a doctor doesn't just give the medicine without working out what the problem is. And sometimes in business, you hear people, you'll hear consultants, and they're already prescribing answers when they haven't really got to the bottom of what the question really is. So diagnose before you prescribe. And that's something I will try and remind myself about. Because the older you get, the more you think, I think I already know the answer. And important to just wind back a bit.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for that. That's really useful too. Very good piece of advice there, so thank you. So back to our topic of, getting the most out of user group membership. I just thought I'd start things off with just kind of asking what led each of you to join the user group initially. So Costa, would you like to kick that one off?
I learned so much from so many people in the user group. And I have to say, both personally and professionally, has been all the time I spent on the user group has been well invested and return on investment. Some of the points for me is it was the step back and having the opportunity to see the bigger picture. It's very easy to get silo in your own company with your own project, and the fact that you go out to the user group and the events, conference, and so on and so forth, and suddenly you got a much bigger picture talking to other customers on the partner SAP themselves. The other thing I found extremely one of the very, very biggest benefits is not being alone. SAP is such a big, huge topic, and particularly when you start, you don't know where to start. So the fact that you're not alone, the fact that there is a community, you can reach out and ask even the basic questions, and somebody is there actually that is able to give you some pointers is invaluable. And finally, for me, the other one is the insight into the SAP customers, checking the temperature and see what's happening outside. Again, outside the company you're working for, it give you a good sense of perspective. And from a personal point of view, it really gives you the sort of confidence that I'm doing the right things. I'm actually pushing in the right direction. So that for me has been probably the biggest points.
Well, thank you, Christopher, to those. And from the benefits perspective, Ian, what kind of benefits has membership brought to you personally?
Well, I know. I'll try and answer both the question before and this question. So the first thing to say is Warburton's has been a member of the user group for way before I arrived in the IT director role. So I guess well over 10 years, and so that brings me neatly to how we've benefited from that. When I first came into the job as IT director, I'm getting to know each of the board members and so on, and our HR director was pretty unhappy with the technology support that we were providing for the HR processes. And through the user group that we were already members of, I was able very quickly, and being fairly new in role, to dive into SIG events about HR and people processes, and also get to the conference and immerse myself in all things SuccessFactors. So it was kind of an accelerated journey of understanding. And back to Costa's point about, SAP is a big world and you can be lost in it. I'm thinking, I'm new in job. The HR director wants to get things sorted out. Where do I start? And I just had an accelerated journey through the user group in what SuccessFactors was, how others were using it, where they were in the journey, what pitfall, who were they using as implementation partners, and also to hear some of the business benefits they had. And that really tuned me up in quite quickly to be able to have a totally different level of conversation with the HR team. We're taking that forward, and by the way, we've done it now, and all of the modules are in, and we'll be presenting about it at the Connect conference this year. So it was great, a great help to me being new in that role as IT director.
Oh, fantastic. And from an organisational perspective, I suppose those personal actual insights and benefits then feed into the benefits to the organisations that you both work for?
Yeah, well, from an organisational, wider organisational benefit point of view, what I would say is just a great channel to the outside world for the whole team to get new ideas and perspectives. In IT, I think we can get a bit stuck in our kind of internal context and see things narrowly through our own environment. Now, I think that's understandable. We need to drive improvement for our organisation. But using the user group to connect externally, I think actually creates energy and creativity. And you get that from seeing how others approach their challenges. So for me, it's a channel to the outside world, not only for me, but for my teammates. And that's one of the biggest benefits I see organisation-wide. And the other thing, last one, is just the other main benefit for me of the user group is making new connections. And a recent example, we went along to an S4 SIG recently. We made some connections there, and from that, totally separately, we had a conversation with a company that had already migrated to S4, and we're just on that journey now. We had that follow-up conversation, team to team, and so many nuggets, so many gems of insight that we will benefit from when we do our migration that came from that connection from the user group. That's the way I see it.
No, thank you. And Costa, anything to add there from your side?
Yeah, I mean, the benefits on an organizational point of view a little bit more complex than a personal, because basically my experience that I had to present the user group sometimes in the companies I've been working for, because some people didn't know the existence. So I try to explain the role, the scope, the structure, and everything else, but also most importantly the independence of the user user group. And so when we say, oh, we can reach out to the user group because we can ask if they're doing the same project, the same initiatives or something like that. And sometimes the first question is, what is user group? And going through the sort of level information. So building a sort of credibility when that knowledge is not there. And once it's there, it's great because what Ian just said, you just flow through the volunteers, through the other SAP customers, via SAP Jam, via the SIG events, and everything else. The thing that for me probably the biggest benefit is the fact that when you're planning to do a project and you want to see when you see other organizations done similar initiatives, just throw the question in Jam and somebody will always come back. And I use them very recently, and it's great because we're able to share 2 or 3 half-an-hour calls with some of the relevant SAP managers of this other organization, and having the sort of feedback has been invaluable. So it's and again, I go back to my previous point. It's so easy to get stuck in your own company silo, and if you look outside, it really help you to give you different perspective, different angles, and suddenly say, "Oh, I haven't thought about that." So and sometimes there are little gems that you capture them, and suddenly makes a massive difference to the project that you're planning to do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both. That and that kind of, I suppose, one of the big benefits I see about the community that we have within UK&I SUG is that relationship building, that human connection between all of our members, and the building of relationships and trusted relationships as collaboration and those relationships grow. And I think that's reflected in kind of both of what you've said there, in learning what other customers are doing, meeting other customers that are generally on the same journey as you are at some stage. Most customers are on a similar journey, just at different stages. And I think that value of other customers helping others along that journey is invaluable. So, thank you for that. And it really does underpin one of the great values of the community, I think. So from the perspective, so if we look at our membership, 99% of our memberships are what we call corporate memberships. So it is the organisation, if you like, that joins the user group, and then that allows everybody that utilises or is exposed to SAP in the company to register and participate under that membership. And I think you mentioned there, Costa, as well, that sometimes some people within the company don't even know what the user group is or that they're a member. And we see that because a lot of SAP customers are very large organisations, and we want everybody to get as much value as possible out of the user group. So I suppose a question to you, Costa, to start, if I may, what can organisations do to help their team get more from the user group and get more, I suppose, of the team involved as members?
There are hundreds of events per year at the SAP user group. So I personally always keep an eye in terms of what events going on and the backlog of project initiatives that are not just in my team, but in other teams, other tribes and chapters. So I can pinpoint to some of my colleagues, do you know there is an event, a user group next week? And suddenly the conversation starts up and they attend. The other thing is I keep pushing Jam. For some reason, every organization I end up working for always been the only sole person to use Jam, as if I was the only one that had access. And again, despite the fact that I keep trying to explain, look, everybody can access Jam because we all got access to it. And we can all, and if it's not just me, but another 10, 15 people from our organization, they increase the value because you can contact question and everything else. The other big benefits is basically providing the SAP Learning Hub obviously discounted. There is both in the couple of organizations we're working for has been a massive help in terms of engagement with the user with my team, because they see the user group as an enabler, and basically they say, the learning hub has been through the user group. Let's have a look what else is there from a personal development plan and so on and so forth. So there is a lot there that the team can do, and again keep proposing, keep talking about it, keep coming up with the opportunity there helps for most of the organization to have a visibility and increased engagement.
Thanks, Custer. Thanks for that. And Ian, anything to add there on getting more people involved?
No, I agree with what Costa said. It's about ensuring there's good awareness as to what's available. There's so much available through the user group, and we need to do some internal marketing. I recently, when you're a member, you have to have a lead member, don't you? But in the past, our lead member really dealt with the admin side of that. But I've recently swapped that, and I've asked if the lead member of the user group now. I see it as their responsibility to be aware of all of the activities that are going on and act as a translator for that, and to market those activities across all the different functional areas of the business. And that's something we'll measure, and we'll measure the input and the adoption levels that our members have for that. So there needs to be an internal mouthpiece for the user group within the organisation. That's something I saw recently is so important. I think the other thing is we just need to remind everybody that it's just such great value for money. If we take Warburton as an example, the inflation costs that we're facing are huge, so all budgets are challenged. But when it comes to training and development and what's available in the user group, I suggest that on a kind of a development input per pound basis is probably not a better return for your investment in terms of training spend. All the people in the Warburton's organisation for a whole year get access to content, webinars and so on for the cost of 1 day's consulting time. So from that perspective, it's a no-brainer. It's important. I just advocate, it's my responsibility to advocate that internally within Warburton's to make sure we drive adoption.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And Costa, I'd just like to touch on some of the things I know you've done in the past in various organisations that you've worked inside to kind of push the participation and engagement within those companies. I think you've recently hosted events at Dunelm this year, and also I think when you were at RS Components, you did a day where one of our team came down to support you in talking about the group and how people can get value from. Would you like to chat to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So both when I was at Dunelm, RS, and at Pentland as well, we organized 6, and it was great because suddenly the IT departments and some of the representatives from the line of businesses had the SAP consultants and the SAP partner at the site. They were able to talk with some of these people and asking the question and everything else, and it was a very different way of liaising with SAP, because suddenly was a person not in a capacity of transactional, but more like having a chat in front of a coffee in the breaks between in the comfort breaks during the SIGs and everything else, and that generated a lot of interest, a lot of networking as well. Mm-hmm. So really helped to realize that the user group is a great way of building this sort of community and this sort of connection and engagement. So from that point of view, it's been very very positive. The other things I've done, particularly recently at Dunelm, for example, I organized what are called SAP brown bag sessions. So lunchtime, half an hour with some of the SAP consultant at the helm, presenting on specific topics. Brown bags because it's a lunchtime, so people can have their lunch, and they like half an hour presentation at a very high level. And I covered things like what is SAP, what is an SAP user group, and also covered basic questions. What is SAP? And at the end of each of the sessions, always don't forget you got access to the user group, and you can access to all the events and everything else. So try to push from the point of view to make people aware. And it's noticeable that the number of people on each company working for that were signing up to the user group membership, it definitely increased. That's exactly my aim. And the very final things, one of the things that I'm doing almost on a daily basis is the user group is very active on social media. So again, for me, sharing a post or liking a post or something like that, again, increase that noise, increase that awareness, and all my contacts within the company I'm working for or outside basically shows, oh, look at it, I didn't know that that's going to happen. I didn't know that, and really help to increase the engagement and the awareness.
Thank you. Thank you. And Ian, anything to add from your perspective there?
Well, I'm just reflecting as I'm listening there. There's kind of the push and the pull to this, isn't there? There's loads of content. We need to make sure people are aware of it. But I do think there's a role for IT leadership in this. I just wonder whether sometimes it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's Warburton's, maybe it's the same in other organisations. But people are busy, aren't they? And you can get busy in the thick of thin things, just doing stuff that you think is important, and IT people and people in the business don't raise their head up and just take a look outside. One of the things I'm advocating this year with the team is external missions. I'm kind of forcing the team to I think I've said 2 or 3 external missions. Just get out, get up and out, and do something different. So I'm kind of pushing adoption from that point of view. But I think it's important for IT leaders to make it known that that's okay. Yeah, we're all busy, there's things to do, but it's okay to share. It's okay, and when you share, you'll get something back in return. So I just think it's important for leadership to advocate that, and we will be sharing something at the conference this year, for instance, and I think that's my role, to say it's okay to share, and what you share, you'll get back in. You'll get back double.
Yeah. Thanks for that, and just touch on you guys at Connect, the annual conference, if I may, for a moment there. How do you get the most out of the event from a personal perspective and also an organisational perspective? Just if I can stay with you, Ian, on that, obviously, because you have mentioned there the sessions that Warburton's delivering at the event.
Yeah. Well, it's a great event. I first attended before I joined the IT team, and this is something that I think we can sometimes miss. I joined as a supply chain leader, which was great because I was kind of acting in a business technologist role outside IT, but working with IT to improve supply chain processes. And I did the full event. I think that was a year before I got the IT job. So at that time, I just dived into, I think I was probably learning about WM at that point. But I said I've used it personally to do a deep dive into success factors. More recently last year, I think we had 3 or 4 from my team there last year, and we just did a deep dive on S4. How else can you find so much out about S4 in 2 days for a number of your team? I did a deep dive into that, and we're now in the middle of our S4 migration. So the other thing I try to do is I try and seek out the member presented content. Of course, we have a presentation from suppliers, and that's right too, because you can see the partners and see what they have to offer. But I just love any member presented content, and then I think it's important that we all advocate that people do present that content and give and then receive in the same way.
Thank you. And Costa, from your perspective, how do you get the most out of Connect?
I have to say, probably this year is my 15th conference I attend, and it's been a long journey. I always look forward to connect. Because basically able to reconnect with so many people that sometimes haven't got the time, haven't got the sometimes the bandwidth to happen, and it's great to your point, the face-to-face conversation chat with people that otherwise will never happen. So for example, it's great to have a chat with some of the SAP partners to understand the new offering, the journey, where they're heading to. And without the pressure of talking about a specific project or initiatives, but the other thing is. And the other thing is again to some of the points that we made before by Ian, in terms of because there are real customers standing up and talking by their own initiatives is such a powerful message. I mean, even if the same message would be delivered by the SAP partner or the SAP themselves, it would not be as powerful as if it was delivered by the customer. So that's for me that is the crunch of the matter for the conference, because as a customer you recognize that somebody else in your similar situation, the challenges, the difficulties, and then so on and so forth. So again, obviously it goes, the agenda for this year conference, it just came out, bit of preparation because there is so many events, so many sessions, so a bit of structure there, preparing my calendar, make sure that I got enough time for all of them, because there is so much interesting and relevant content, and basically getting there bright and early and going through of it. Really looking forward.
Oh, fantastic. And just kind of without the risk of asking you to repeat yourself, so without kind of those customer delivered sessions, if we put that to one side, is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to Connect this year?
Yeah, well, I can answer that. We're migrating to S4 next summer, so I'll definitely do some of those. But I think the other thing I'm going to turn my attention to more this year is the business technology platform. Mm-hmm. It's a thing. I don't understand it, I'll be honest. I hear great things about it. So I'm going to be at the conference. I'm going to dive into a few of those sessions, I think, this year, and make sure I'm not missing a trick, or that the team are not missing a trick on what the benefits from that could be. And you know what else? The social side's great. SUGFest is superb. So it's an opportunity for me, and I don't know, I think there's probably another 2 or 3 of my team going to just spend a bit of time socially, perhaps not talking about SAP during the evening too.
Thank you for that. And Costa?
Yeah, I had to echo what Ian said for me as well. As for RISE, BTP are the major topics I want to learn more, understand more, and again, to Ian's point, have fun, because we all work very hard, and having opportunity and at the SUGFest to have a bit of a laugh, a bit of enjoy ourselves really helps. Again, to build a sort of engagement and networking with people that otherwise you only got the opportunity to talk about very seriously about certain topics, and suddenly a bit of a laugh, a bit of a chat really helps to build a sort of relationships. And
just reflecting on what you both said there, I think the social aspects is so important, because you're in sessions all day, you're learning, you're trying to take as much in, soak as much up as a sponge, and then you do need that time to maybe decompress and let those thoughts and learnings percolate inside. But I almost guarantee that neither of you will get through the evening without talking SAP.
You're absolutely right.
Probably, yeah.
Because there'll be something from the day that you'll speak to somebody else about. Like, what about this? And I've tried that before, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I normally make most of my partner reference conversations during the evening in the bar, actually.
Oh, fantastic. And that's great, because there is so much, and there is a lot of BTP in there. Ian, we just, I think, kind of released a full list of BTP sessions that's taking place, from the very technical to the not so technical as well. So and the business side, which hopefully is good. Two S4 tracks, just reflecting on what you were saying, Costa, with Rise and all the other, I suppose, pathways to S4 as well, with a whole stream that's being delivered by customers on their journeys. So just thinking back now as we come towards the end of our brief discussion, is so for somebody perhaps that's recently joined the user group or hasn't joined yet and is thinking about it, are there any aspects of the community you recommend that they would take advantage of first? So, Costa.
So if you just joined recently, I would say focus on one relevant topics. The organization is looking to maybe a project, maybe a transformation or something like that. Focus on that and learn how the user group is operating, because the model is not dissimilar for most of the SIGs. Also, I would say try to understand who is who in the user group really helps. The user group back office is the engine of the entire operation, so they're there answering phone and answering emails, and on the jump messages is great. So again, there is a help and support there. Attend the events. So basically, as we said, try to go and see what the part of the offering is there, and again go to the conference, but starting small on looking on some specific topic and slowly increasing the understanding of what a new member can get out of the entire. And the very final thing is quite a lot for me is the more you give, the more you get. So to go back to Ian's point before, it's good to share. So the more you share, the more people will come to you, because the more they want to talk about your experience, and vice versa. You learn from them in terms of from the question they're asking, because maybe they already done the same project, or they're about to do a different project. So again, the more you give, the more exposure of what you've been doing it, the more people will come and engage with you, and engage that is a very powerful moment, because you can really again build a connection, build the engagement.
Thank you. And Ian?
Yeah, very much in line with what Costa has said. Get along to a SIG event in a specific area, and of course it's not just the event itself, it's what happens before that and after that, isn't it? We of course in IT we have a fair share of introverts, and that's fine. But that can make it difficult to network for some people, and I just encourage people, get along and just push yourself to say hello. You'll be surprised how friendly a bunch we are. We're probably unsurprised how friendly a bunch we all are, and it'll become easier over time. So feel the fear and network anyway. And what I think we have a job to do in the user group there as well, though, how we've continued to find mechanisms to help people find it easier to network and to have those types of conversations, because I think that's so powerful when we do.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose we're starting our Connect as well with a keynote from Will Kintish, the master of networking, on how to network. So hopefully people can get themselves there, because it's difficult as well, because we've spent so much time over the past few years, perhaps in isolation, working from home, lockdowns, etc. Getting back out and talking to people can be a strange experience for many. So, we'll help people as much as we can along the way, and we'll look for different mechanisms to do that as well. So, thank you both very much for that. And just as we come to a close, I'd just like to maybe flip right back to the beginning and the icebreaker question, and listening to what you've both been talking about there. So, and how I suppose UK&I can help towards your pieces of advice that you've both received. If you look at from what you said, Costa, about that circle of control, not worrying about things you can't control. You've talked about, going along to events to find out what other customers have done, perhaps the pitfalls they've received, understanding what you can and can't control, so that when you're going on your own journey or your own projects, you can avoid them or know what you need to deal with and what you can't control. And I suppose from your side, Ian, diagnosing before prescribing is pretty similar in that, you talked about doing a deep dive, I think, in S4 last year. And, by taking that, you kind of looking at what others have done, learning a lot more about it before you take the plunge and diagnose how it's best for your business too. So I just kind of reflecting on what you said at the beginning and what you've said through, and hope that kind of matches of how the user group can help in those areas as well. So is there anything else either of you would like to add before we bring our conversation to a close? Anything we haven't covered?
No, I'd probably just reflect, we're a friendly bunch of members that can learn from each other, and we're independent.
Yeah,
I think that's you can get input from partners. You go to tender, you get input from different partners, and that's fine. And we have a great partner, by the way. But there's value in the independence, and I think that's really important.
I would concur. Very important. Costa?
Yeah, I mean that's the key things that Ian just said. Is absolutely the independence is key, but also the fact that the user group is we are stretching more and more in different areas. We are really working hard to continue to be relevant. We're really working hard to find the channels of communication in order to keep anybody engaged. Standstill has not really been an option for the user group during the last few years, and the amount of work that happened in the background that sometimes is not visible to most, if not all, our members is phenomenal. The number of volunteers just organize the events to set up the strategy is enormous. And sometimes when things look too easy, is not because they're easy, but because there's been so much thoughts and so much preparation to put in place to make it slick and working perfectly. So again, that's the user group that I know that I've been seeing for the last 12 years. I've been part of this organization.
Thank you very much. Ian, Costa, thank you both so much for your insights and for your time spent with us today discussing this. And, thank you to our listeners. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, found it valuable, and hopefully it shined a bit of a light on how you can extract more value from your user group membership. And, as Costa was just reflecting on there on the volunteer community, etc., if you would like to get more involved with the user group, drop us a line, and we will help support you becoming a volunteer as well and engaging even more in the community. So please do hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future episode. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep washing your hands.